Thank you very, very much. You're far too kind. I am Stanford Chidge, and this is the Chelsea Football Fancast. Welcome back for part 4. And we don't get the chance to do something like this enough, in my opinion. Normally, we have 2 games to cover. That's 2 games that have happened, for those that haven't quite got the concept of the Chelsea Fancast yet. Not games that are about to happen. But normally we have to spend our time talking about the games that have happened. And then we only have 1 game this week. So we either have a guest on, and if we don't, we like to do something like this, which is where we have a good old debate about something that's been gnawing away at me for months and months and months. And really, we should have entitled this, Pablo, "What about Cortez?" Shouldn't we?
It's beginning to get overused now.
I know.
Isn't it?
It's only just over a year since we first heard that. But the fact of the matter is that we seem to be in this little bit of a dilemma where, Petr Cech, Courtois, Thiago Courtois, we have on our books. He's been out on loan to Atletico Madrid for several years, and there's talk of him coming back, but he's already laid down a mark saying he wants to be the number 1, and yet we've still got Petr Cech, one of the greatest, or if not the greatest goalkeeper that Chelsea's ever seen. If I just read you a bit of this as a comparison, as an introduction to it, you'll see what I mean. But basically, Courtois has played 91 times for Atletico and has won the Europa League. Anybody can do that, even Benitez won that. Copa del Rey and a European Super Cup along the way, as well as being voted LFP Best Goalkeeper for the 2012-13 season, in which he had the lowest goals conceded per game ratio in the league. However, it's difficult to imagine a Chelsea side without Cech in goal. He's been an ever-present during Chelsea's greatest ever era, winning 3 Premier Leagues, 4 FA Cups, 2 League Cups, 1 Champions League, last season's Europa League, and the Czech keeper has also kept a record. It says 210 clean sheets to date, but it's probably more than that now. I mean, he's an absolute legend. So, bottom line is the club are in for a monster problem, I think, coming up. I'm just wondering, Greg, we'll have a quick look at their head-to-head record to start this off, shall we? Greg, my long-suffering and wonderful producer, also known as Greg Gripper Grimes, I made him do some homework this weekend. Here we go. Let's just compare Cech and Courtois, or Cortez if we prefer. And this is their stats based on the current season. Obviously, there's a bit of an age gap. Cech's 32. A man in his prime, I would say. He's got years ahead of him. And then there is Courtois, who's 22. Cech's made 27 appearances this season. Cech's made 27 appearances to Courtois' 24. Cech's conceded 21 goals, Courtois 17. Cech has made 57 saves compared to Courtois' 52, and 12 clean sheets apiece, and Cech's save percentage is 71.8 compared to Courtois' 72.5%, and the minutes per goal, Cech 128.5 and Courtois 141.1. The bottom line is that actually they're broadly comparable.
Hang on a minute, no, they're not.
Okay, they're not. Tell me why they're not.
Because what you have to take into consideration is there's only 3 teams in La Liga in Spain.
And there's only 5 or 6 teams in England this year, so it's not actually...
It's twice as many.
But it's still a small sample on the large number of games.
I take your point. You know me, I am not a man who is fond of statistics, because I don't think they actually prove anything. But I think you can say that statistically they are broadly comparable. They really are. I think before we really get going on this, I think we've got a very good friend of ours, a very good friend of yours, in fact, I believe. There's a young lad called Rick Sharma, and Rick writes for, or used to write for, he does write for the Mail Online, doesn't he?
I'm not totally sure.
I can't remember. I'm sure he'll put us right on that. But the fact of the matter is, Rick, who I was trying to get on the show as a guest here many times, but he's now gone to Spain. He's now living and working in Spain. So this is a man who is very au fait with what is going on in Spanish football. So I think before we get into the old nuts and 2 bolts and the mashed potatoes and vegetables of this, we should talk to somebody who knows their stuff. Rick, welcome to the Chelsea Fancast, finally.
Hello, I'm glad to be on.
You're
Great show so far.
You're looking very well, mate. It's lovely to see you. It's a shame that we've got you on Skype rather than here on person, really. But, this whole debate about whether we should have Cech or Courtois has been gnawing away at me, because... really, what's precipitated this for me is the fact that Courtois seems to be making pronouncements in the Spanish media about the fact that he doesn't want to come back to Chelsea unless he immediately assumes the number 1 role. And being an old git, I suppose, my issue with that is that, I'm sorry, mate, you've got it all to prove. You've not played for Chelsea yet. You can't just walk in here and demand to be number 1. I mean, what's going on in Spain? I mean, how good is he? What are the Spanish saying about him? Is he likely to stick around there if he doesn't get what he wants? Or, I mean, lots of questions for you, but you take choice of which one you answer first.
Well, he is very good. I don't think there's much question about that, but sad that this comes on the back of him letting in 3 goals against Osasuna on the weekend.
My timing is everything, Rick. My timing is everything.
Sorry?
My timing is everything. I waited until he made a bit of a burk of himself before doing this. But no, seriously. So, anyway, carry on.
He's been for 3 years now at Atletico. Straight.
Bit of Norman Collier there, boys. Are we going to sort that out in the gallery and get back to? Or is he okay? I mean, just picking up on my point there. I mean, do you think it is unrealistic of Courtois, no matter how good he is or might be? Oh, hang on. I stopped you in full flight. Sorry, Rick, we lost you there for a minute, mate. You want to try again?
Sure.
Pick up on where you left off. You're telling us about how good he is.
Yeah. For 3 years he's been Atletico's first team. He's absolutely adored by their fans. You've probably seen the T-bowing, the Courtois version of Timmy T-bowing from the NFL, where the fans take pictures themselves, like diving on top of objects or out in front of shops or in the mountains wearing their Atletico shirts, and then posting them online. And I think the definition of T-bowing is emulating a classic Thibaut Courtois goalkeeping save in any random location, and it was one of the Belgian sports words of last year.
That's Belgian.
He's absolutely loved by Atletico fans.
Well, look, just because Rick, just because the Atletico fans love him, he's actually our player. I mean, I know he hasn't played for shit, but he is ours. I mean, do you think there's going to be an issue? Do you think that if we don't give him what he wants, which apparently seems to be the #1 jersey next season, do you think he'll throw his toys out the pram and just stay at Atletico or try and get snapped up somewhere else?
I think he knows he is good enough to goalkeep for one of the best teams in the world, and he'll have seen countless young players at Chelsea not get a chance in the first team, sit on the bench, or be farmed out like he's been loaned out for 3 years, and he is ready to goalkeep for a Champions League team. I mean, he is. He made a brilliant save against Milan for Atletico last week, and I mean, he should be playing a full season every season now.
I mean, my feeling, Rick, is that if I had my way, what I would do, I would get him back, or if I was Jose, next month I would say, okay, you want to have a meeting with me about what your future might be at Chelsea? I say, well, look, I'm sorry, but I remember what it was like when David De Gea turned up at Man United as the next best thing as a goalkeeper, and look how rubbish he was for a couple of years. You haven't proved anything for me. You haven't proved anything for Chelsea. The best that I'm going to do for you next season is there are 2 #1 keepers at this club, you and Cech, and I will pick you based on form. You duke it out together, and if you are genuinely performing better than Cech, I will pick you, and if he is generally performing better than you, I will pick him. I mean, do you think that's a realistic thing? I mean, that's a very Jose thing to happen, but on the other hand, Rick, Jose has a history of ditching. I mean, he ditched Cudicini when Cech turned up, and he got rid of what's the Real Madrid keeper, Casillas. So Jose has a history of playing it both ways, doesn't he, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Courtois is going to be 22 when he arrives in June or July. And that's exactly the same age Cech was when he took over Cudicini's role in the first team. And Courtois has had a lot more practice and a lot more, high-profile games than Cech had back then.
Excellent stuff. I've got a question from Dr. Mart here for you, Rick.
Yeah, hi, Rick. Is Courtois shooing for the #1 shirt at Atletico, or has he got? Who else is there? What other keepers have they got?
No big names. When he came in, he took over from Asenjo, who had been, quite decent for them. But he's just since then no one's had a look in. So they played the other guy. The reserve's name is a long name beginning with Z, which I should know, but I haven't. He came in to replace Courtois recently when Courtois got injured for a couple of games, and he ended up getting sent off.
So he's probably never in his career actually had to fight for a place in the team, has he?
Sorry,
no, that's true.
probably got one.
Pablo was talking to me. Pablo, you got a question for Rick?
Yeah, hello, mate. I was just wondering how much of this kind of agitating for first-team spots at Chelsea or having his future sorted out is the result of his agents or his dad rather than him.
His dad has come out and said a lot of stuff, but there does seem to be something with Courtois and that sort of media side. Like he recently had criticised Mignolet, the Liverpool goalkeeper, because Mignolet said something about wanting to work hard and become Belgium's number one, and Courtois said he should just respect him and not come out like that.
So it's a bit hypocritical, really, Rick.
Exactly, yeah.
But like I said, I mean, there's a weird sense of history repeating itself here, anyway, isn't there? Because Cech effectively did exactly the same to Cudicini, and as I recall, although it was a long time ago, I think Cech was not exactly backwards about coming forwards about wanting to be the number one when he turned up. Yeah. So, maybe we read too much into it. Maybe we're too critical. Last question for you, Rick. What do you think is going to happen? What's your considered opinion? You're out there and you get a sense for it, I suspect.
Yeah. I do think that Courtois will be the goalkeeper for Chelsea next season. And I don't know whether that means Cech stays and they do both fight it out, or whether Cech thinks he's still got a few more years at the top, which he probably does, and decides it's been amazing, but it's time for him to move on.
But you think that Courtois will come back, and then we'll see what we will see. That's brilliant stuff. Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. We need to get you on much more, I think. And when you're back in London, let me know, and we'll get you around as a guest one day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Great to talk to you.
You too, mate. Enjoy Spain. I'm sure you will.
Cheers.
Excellent, that was great fun.
Cheers,
round of applause for Rick. Too right. Pictures are on it tonight, aren't they?
I think that someone called Shot Ryan seems to sum it up well with him, and Gross and Jack are tweeting each other, and he just said no room for sentimentality. I can't even say the word now. Sentimentality with Jose. If you're better, you start.
Is Grocer Jack saying that?
He said he agrees. Made a cut for
Tony, I'll remember that when Kaiser Johnny beats you off the podding shed, mate, because you're a bit too old. That's all I'm saying.
We have evidence of that. Look at Ashley Cole.
Yeah,
I was thinking that.
I mean, I think the key thing for me is that Courtois is a World Cup in a team that's quite fancied to be the dark horses, if you like.
I don't see what that has anything to do with it.
If he's just got himself into the World Cup 11 of the tournament and comes back and Czech's been sat around all summer not doing anything, he's going to be the one that's in the focus, and he's going to be the one that's almost going to be a clamour for him to be playing.
Before you do, Mark, I've got Beth wants to... Beth, speak now for hold your...
I want everybody to think about this point. If you had made an investment in a player that took an almost life-threatening injury that we all know could pop its ugly head up at the slightest knock, would you not have the insurance of having someone of his equal right behind him? And though that does not answer the question of who will be the goalkeeper at Chelsea next season, it does answer the question of why we have Courtois, and we've always had him there. Because Petr Cech, I love him to bits, but if he goes down, how many of you sitting here, if Petr got even a slight knock to the head, and we saw one early in the season where he just got, did you not just hold your breath going, oh my God, because we know what happened, and we know that it is his Achilles heel.
You know what, Beth? I understand what you're saying. I probably did feel a bit like that, but... I'm not so sure, because if you think it's his Achilles heel, then you know how professional football is, and I think if people decided that was Czech's weakness, they would have tried it on. The odd elbow here and there.
And the real clamour earlier in the season after the Spurs keeper had a concussion, and then they're taking head injuries, and any sign of head injuries very seriously now. So
I think just talking about the injury though, Pablo, I think I actually personally think there's this ridiculous myth, probably perpetrated by retards and the media, saying, Czech's never been the same since the... You hear it on the media all the time, Czech's never been the same. Well, no, of course he was not the same when he saved 2 penalties in the Champions League. 4
3,
plus the...
Sorry, he faced 6 penalties, and he went the right way for all of them and saved 3.
I mean, he won us the Champions League, you could argue. I mean, I think I see this guy play every week. Every week he does at least 2 match-saving saves.
Unless you play West Ham, who don't give him the chance to.
He makes a rig. Occasionally, all goalkeepers will make mistakes. It is part of the territory. But I think it's a real myth that he has really declined to the extent that people are trying to say.
I don't think he has at all. He never could command his box. He's always a bit shy on crosses. I don't think he's changed. The only thing I'll say...
You know what I'm going to say, don't you? And you are the expert in commanding your box.
The only thing I'd say with Cech, I do agree with Beth though as well. Though, if Cech did get injured, the thing I fear more for is though that will it knock his confidence in terms of actually going out and getting amongst it, or will he always sort of pull out a little bit?
You know what? The one counter argument I can think of about, I completely dismiss this whole theory that he's declined because of his head injury and ever since. But what I would say is that, and Mourinho is a great advocate of this, Cech has not really had any serious competition as a goalkeeper at the club since the days of Courtois. There is no competition for the goalkeeper.
I was trying to think of something nice to say about Ross Turnbull then.
There isn't. Ross Turnbull's won the European Cup, the European Cup, the European Cup. Ross Turnbull's won the European Cup. That's positive. Yeah.
But he wasn't great, was he?
No. We've had Hilario. We've had that Ambrose Rice, whatever his Ambrosio, Hilario, Neil Sullivan, Ross Turnbull. I mean, he's had no competition. So, Petr Cech is a winner. I mean, the guy is... You don't get to be the best person in the world at anything unless you are a winner. And I think if you brought... my theory about saying, actually, what I would do, and what I think that Mourinho will do, and what I hope Mourinho will do, is to bring Courtois in and say, look, I'm sorry, mate, nobody has any guarantees in this side. If you want a guarantee, go and play for a Muppet side like Atletico Madrid. This is Chelsea, and I am Jose Mourinho. You are both my number one. You fight it out between you. You get picked based on my judgment and your form. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens because I think Cech will respond to that.
You're right, and I've been trying to get him to say something similar to that. I think it would do both Cech and Courtois good to both be at Chelsea competing for the place. Courtois because he's never had that, and Cech because he's never had it since he's been at Chelsea. I think it'd do them both
that's a good point,
I agree, but you have to ultimately pick one or the other. You can't chop and change a goalkeeper throughout the season because the whole defence suffers.
I think when we won the league in '55, we did. I think Chick Thompson and I forget the other guy used to alternate. I think they did. And the thing with Jose is that with Courtois, he didn't actually. When Cech came back from injuries, he would always just drop Courtois straight away. He doesn't. I don't think.
Right. You have to have a number one.
We need to wrap this up. So I need to get from you what you think. Do you think that Cech or Courtois should be our number one keeper next season?
I think Courtois probably should be, and I think Courtois probably will be.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Darren?
I would say Courtois, but it's too hard to say. You don't know if he'll hit the ground running.
Well, you've got to give me a yes or a no.
I said I will say Courtois, but it's too hard to say.
2 for Courtois. Martin?
We should definitely have Courtois and Cech, and Hilario can go to Atletico.
You've got to choose Courtois or Cech.
Depends who's in better form.
Benches. Cech?
Courtois for me, but what a position to be in. 2 world-class
goalkeepers. It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
Right, I'll get a bit of Mixler and Twitter. I'd like to know what their feedback is, and then I can give you the results, because we had a poll on this in the website, and I think that the result of that is quite staggering, but I'm going to hold fire on that until I hear from Darren.
Okay, well, Grocer Jack says he needs the mature experience of his wisdom on the podding sheds. So, to answer that about...
So therefore, Tony, I would imagine you're choosing Cech then, are you, as a man of experience?
CFC unofficial says spot on Chidge, no one touched Cech. Rob Dog... Okay, that's about something else. Tactical Wizard said he doesn't worry about Cech's head injuries.
Okay.
No one's actually saying if it's Cech or
all right.
Courtois.
Well, I'm going to keep you in suspense no longer, because the result that we've had on our poll. I mean, personally, I think Cech is still got 5 years in him, and I'd be mistakes to let him go. But the poll on the website is staggering. 72% of you think that Thiago Courtois, what about Cortez, should be Chelsea's first choice keeper next season. So I'm staggered by that. I mean, I know the kid's good, but so there we go. What do you think about
that? Somewhat surprising, but I mean,
isn't it?
The main argument for Cech is
we got to go, Pablo.
Kind of sentimentality still, isn't it?
All right, no more. We got to go for a break. Okay, we'll be back in a minute when I'm going to punch somebody for voting for Courtois.